My video on the Samsung Galaxy S10e last year is one of my most popular videos, so I thought why not take another look at the Samsung Galaxy S10e in mid-2024 to see how it's doing. How is it handling? How is the camera experience now compared to before? And most importantly, is there under any circumstance a reason to get this phone now? My opinion on how this phone looks and feels is really the same as it was last year. First of all, I absolutely love the size, form factor, and feel of it. The phone feels compact, completely usable with one hand, but at the same time it has quite the edge-to-edge display with very minimal bezels, so it feels compact and somehow sort of big at the same time. And it's also very, very light, like exactly the right amount of heft without sacrificing too much. But yeah, like I said, the AMOLED display is pretty quality, nicely vivid, sharp, and vibrant. And this screen still looks pretty good compared to the newer phones of today. And honestly, I have nothing bad to say about the build quality of this phone. I never have. The shiny, glossy finish for the time made sense, but today it just looks kind of 2019-ish, right? If that makes sense. However, I'm still a fan of everything. If I was to put it in one word, the style of this phone, it's sleek. And I want to give a special shout out to the fingerprint sensor / power button. One of my favorite implementations of it, honestly. It works fast, it's just in the right spot, and it has a super tactile, clicky feeling. We need more of this in today's phones. To talk about performance though, I feel like I keep repeating myself in these reviews. They're all just fine. Yes, of course, we know that since these are older phones, they are going to be a tad bit slower in everything really. At overall use, that's a given. But unlike phones from the mid-2010s, phones from later on in the decade like the S10e from 2019 hold up perfectly fine almost 5 years later. 5 years later, actually, for the daily average use. Android 12 is the last Android version that this phone is getting. However, there are a bunch of security updates to install. I honestly got tired of installing so many security updates. But yeah, no more major updates with big feature drops. And honestly, I think that's a good thing. I don't think that this phone could handle another major update like an Android 13 because it would just get too slow and too clunky to use. Where it's at is just fine. It's a solid, functional, straight to the point OS that does what you need it to do. I know Samsung's cameras are not reality. They really do turn up the saturation and vibrance quite a bit in the photos, in the post-processing. And they do make for good shots if you do prefer that type of style. So still a good camera. Color tones for skin are nice. The ultra-wide angle is nice to have, but it's not on the same level of quality as the main wide-angle camera. The main story is really that post-processing, and it does a good job of making the photos look good. However, another key thing is the sharpness of the photos. Generally, the photos are kinda sorta fuzzy looking. Sharpness can be lacking depending on the photo taking situation that you're in. So to compensate for this, the phone does a lot of processing and sometimes it overdoes the clarity in the photos. Now, this is not with every photo. I'd say 80% of the shots are pretty good, very nice shots. Especially in some of the selfies, I've noticed that some of them are just a little too processed looking. And the video. I think everyone knows that older Android phones, videos were not their strong suit. I mean, it works well enough, and that's all you can really ask for a phone this old. But in today's video first world, this phone would absolutely not compete just because everything is video now, and you can't really make TikToks with the S10e. Like you could, but you know what I mean. And that's it. The S10e, the Galaxy S10e, will only be usable, I think, for another year or so before it's really too old to use. But for the time, it was a great compact, premium compact phone, and I would absolutely not get it for any circumstance now. Maybe only if you're going to use it as like a YouTube watching only phone. But yeah, I don't recommend getting it at all. It's a shame that the premium compact smartphone line from Samsung was discontinued after this one. Because I feel like now, especially when phones are most phones are 7 inches in screen size, something like this would really be a hit. Like, could you imagine a Galaxy S24e? But yeah, that's been it, and I'll see you in the next one.